What if consistency was never the problem? What if it was always just a symptom of something you haven't looked at directly yet? Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Shawn Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding. Not a tactic, not a hustle. A clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises. Energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your Daily Power Boost. Welcome back to Daily Power Boost. You've tried to be consistent more than once, probably twice, maybe more, and you meant it every time. So let's stop pretending that this is about effort. The people who struggle most with consistency, they're not lazy. They're often the most driven people in the room. They just keep hitting a ceiling they can't even see. And ceilings you can't see won't come down with more pushing. Last episode, we talked about force, how white-knuckling your way through resistance isn't discipline, it's compensation. Today, we go one layer deeper. Because stopping the force is only half the work. The other half is asking what's still sitting in the way once you do. Momentum isn't something you manufacture. It's something that moves when the obstruction is removed. You already have it. Somewhere underneath the starts and the stops, the guilt cycles, those fresh start Mondays, the energy is there. It's just not moving freely. So the question we're sitting with isn't how do I get more motivated? It's what's still blocking the flow. Let me ask you something you might not want to answer. Is it possible that part of you has been staying just inconsistent enough to avoid full accountability for the result? Not consciously, not maliciously, strategically, in the way we protect ourselves from things we haven't named yet. Half commitment has a quiet benefit most people never name. If you didn't really go all in, the outcome isn't really yours, and you can always point to the gap between what you did and what you could have done. Full commitment closes that gap, and it's not just motivating, it's exposing. The result becomes yours, fully and undeniably. And for a lot of people, that's the actual obstruction. Not laziness, not circumstance, that vulnerability of going all in and finding out. Here's what that obstruction looks like in motion. You take action, something shifts, maybe something even works. And instead of building on it, you find a reason to slow down. Get busy, distracted, realistic. From the outside, it looks like inconsistency. From the inside, it feels like responsibility. But what's actually happening is an old identity is running interference. Not because it wants you to fail, but because success at this level requires becoming someone it doesn't recognize yet, and that feels like danger. Inconsistency isn't weakness. It's a protection mechanism that's outlived its purpose. So here's the shift. Stop trying to build momentum and start identifying what's interrupted. One honest look at the obstruction is worth more than 30 days of forced habit stacking. Once you see it clearly, I mean really clearly, it loses its grip that it had when it was invisible. That's when consistency stops being a fight. Not because you got stronger, but because the thing you were fighting wasn't real in the way you thought it was. One thing before you move on today. Name the area where your momentum keeps breaking down. Not the surface habit, the underneath area. And ask yourself, what would I have to fully own if this actually worked? Sit with it, because somewhere in that answer is the obstruction. And that obstruction, once you name it, it's already smaller than it was a moment ago. If you've been circling this and can't quite pinpoint what's blocking you, that's the type of work we do on a clarity call. Not motivation, precision. We find the thing, name it clearly, and figure out your next honest move. You'll find a link in the show notes. Consistency was never your character flaw. It was just feedback. And now you know where to look. Next time, you've stopped forcing, you've named the obstruction, but there's still a gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. That gap has a name, and it runs deeper than you might expect. With strength and heart, I'm Shawn Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.